right. Well, welcome everybody. I'm so grateful for all of you who have decided to join me for this. I wanted to kind of open this up to not only those who have decided to join the full Prosperity Unbound 7-part clearing series, but also just to anybody who wanted to find out some more information about this upcoming transit. And the reason why I feel like these upcoming transits are so important is that when we have these long-standing transits, they affect everybody on a collective level, but also on a personal level, especially when they last several years. And what's really cool about that is that we can also look back in history and notice patterns and things that happen in certain energies that were present when these astrological transits were in play previously. So before we jump into that and we start talking about this upcoming Chiron and Taurus transit, for those of you who are joining us and who haven't worked with me before, my name is Amy and I do lots of things, but for sake of a title, I'm an intuitive channel and a transformational guide and energy worker. And it's something that I have been in the process of becoming probably for, gosh, 25 years now. And it's something that I really feel is part of my soul purpose. And so having you join me and giving me an opportunity to share all of the knowledge, wisdom, education that I have spent my life doing really means a lot. And hopefully it impacts you in a positive way and helps you with your own soul growth, which is ultimately what I feel we're all here to do is to kind of grow our souls and step into our highest timeline and really come back to full remembrance of who we are at soul level. So that's my little who I am and what I do in a nutshell. Um, so, and hello to those of you who are hopping on. This is going to be recorded so that those who are not here for the live tonight can watch it at any time. I will also be sending this out so that if you want to revisit it at any time, you definitely can. This can be really helpful, not just for currently, but like I said, this is a extended period transit that we're entering. And so you may find um, anytime within the next 8 years that this is something that you want, which is how long this transit is going to last, which is something that you want to come back and revisit. So, um, first off, I just wanted to kind of set a space here because we're going to be doing some intentional work. And so if you would like to take a couple of deep breaths with me to kind of ground yourself into the energy, clear your any lingering anxiety, emotions, anything that's sitting in your body. So just go ahead and take a deep breath in through your nose and then let it out through your mouth. One more time. And let it out. Wiggle any of your fingers, toes, move your body if you need to, and then find yourself in a comfortable position. So, okay, so um, the reason, as I mentioned before, when we have these longer transits and why they're so significant is that we, I always hate it when I start getting downloads in the middle of me trying to speak. Um, We've been going through some really significant shifts that have been happening, and we've had some major outer lying planets that have extended periods of time when they transit through a particular sign. And so if you're new to astrology, I'm just gonna do a little quick overview, is that each planetary body spends a certain amount of time within each sign as it passes through. And so we have some, like the moon, which goes through, it's closest to Earth. It goes through all 12 signs of the zodiac within about a 28-day period. It spends 2.5 days approximately in each sign as it goes through. So it happens pretty quickly. And so you're not going to notice necessarily I mean, you will notice a change, but it's not going to be like a significant extended period of time where you're dealing with one particular energy that is associated with the moon. But when we get to these outer lying planets and astral bodies, such as Pluto, or Neptune, or Uranus, which they have all been changing signs recently. Neptune stays in one particular sign for approximately 14 years, and that changed signs this year. And Pluto stays in a particular sign for approximately 20 years. It's a generational planet. And that one changed at the end of last year in December, I believe, if I remember right. And so when they make those shifts from being in one sign to a next, it is a noticeably different energy that comes with different themes, different lessons, different ways of showing up in the world. And those outer lying planets, because they are all the same for the whole collective, we kind of start seeing these collective shifts that happen. So tonight we're talking about Chiron and Taurus. And Chiron is not a planet. Some people will consider it a comet. Some people consider it more like an asteroid. It's actually it's fairly large, and it was discovered in 1977, but it is an icy body that exists in between, I don't want to mess it up, in between Saturn and Uranus. So it is quite outer lying, and it crosses their orbits. And in the way that it does it, it does not stay in a particular sign for the same amount of time, because it has a very different orbit. So in some signs, it will only stay in that sign for about 1.5 years. And then in other signs, such as Aries and Taurus, it will stay in that sign for about 7 to 8 years. And so we have had the last 7 years with Chiron being in Aries. And so all of those people who have their natal, which is where the natal being where Chiron or the planets were at your time of birth, have recently had their Chiron return in Aries. And so for those of us, myself included, who were born between 1977 and into parts of 1984, were born with Chiron and Taurus. And so this is considered our Chiron return. And everyone has their Chiron return at approximately around the age of 50, but since it's an 8-year span, we're all going to be reaching that point at different times. And it is a significant shift in people personally when they come upon their Chiron return. And I'm going to tell you about that a little bit more in a second. We have been dealing with Chiron and Aries for the last 7-ish years. And Aries has the energy of I am. And so with Chiron and Aries, it was all about who are we? How do I show up in the world? What are the stories related to who I'm allowed to be and how I'm allowed to exist? And what stories keep me stuck? And so it's very much a personal identity energy. And you may have noticed themes over the last 7 years of really coming into and questioning whether you are aligned with who you think you are, or if you have been holding yourself back, or if you are kind of taking a leap of faith and going off on new paths that do feel more aligned for you. Um, and kind of starting to rewrite those stories. Chiron in Taurus is about themes of worthiness. What am I allowed to have? What am I allowed to create? How, uh, what, what am I deserving of? It has a lot of themes around personal self-worth, but also the stories that tell you what you are capable of holding and creating and building and sustaining. And Taurus is very much the energy of the earth. It's what we hold in our physicality. It can relate to also our bodies, and uh, who, like, how we exist within ourselves. So, and I kind of skipped over a part, so I'm going to go back. But the purpose of Chiron and how it shows up in astrology is called the wounded healer. The myth of Chiron was that Chiron was half horse and half human. And he could heal other people. He was really good at healing other people, but he was not very good at healing himself. And so we consider Chiron to be the energy of the wounded healer. And what that means for us personally is that um, Chiron represents where our deepest core wound resides. It is what we come in with. It's not something that necessarily happened to us. It can be an energy that is part of our soul contract. It can be an energy that is relevant to past lives, but it's something that shows up in our astrological energy framework to become the thing that we're here to transmute on the deepest level. And as we go through our lives and heal this deep core wound that we have, it makes us turn into the wise healer who understands what that transformation is and can also help guide others through those same transformations. Um, Whenever I'm working with people and we're going into their astrology charts, Chiron is one of those things that I look at because it will be a continuous theme throughout your life. And it will often be something that is kind of like a healing spiral. Like you'll kind of go through and you'll figure one layer of it out. And then once you think that you have it figured out, you'll realize that there's a deeper layer and a deeper layer and a deeper layer for you to work through until you've really fully embodied the whole purpose of what it means and why it is has shown up for you. Um, and especially when it comes to things such as worthiness, um, scarcity, lack, not having enough, security, which is a huge thing for Taurus. Uh, Taurus is Taurus energy loves its security, and feeling stable. And so when you have a wound in that part of your chart and around this thing, it really can show up in ways where you're having to find your own stability within yourself and navigate unstable situations, transformations, all of that. And everyone, whether you were born with Chiron and Taurus, like some of us were or not, are going to experience these lessons during this 7-8 year period. So it's going to continue to come up. And on a global scale, what does that look like? Well, before I get into that, just going to jump back to Chiron return for a second. So for those of you who are doing Chiron return or who have just finished your Chiron return, because I know we have both, and I know we do have some younger people who are probably Chiron and Gemini and are going to be gearing up for this in another 8 years or so. But the purpose of Chiron return and why it's so significant is because it's almost when it finally comes back around, it's like you have gone through so many layers of that spiral, and now you have the wisdom and insight to see things and yourself and your experiences in a different perspective. And if you integrate them, you're now moving into the period where, I guess in wise woman terms, they would consider it like your crone years. Like you've finally reached a level of a certain point of mastery around that one specific wound. And there is this transformation aspect that happens. And so when you're going through your Chiron return, what you may notice happening, and it happens a lot, is that anything that is unresolved is going to come to the surface. And you're going to have to face it, and figure out what it is going to take in order to finally master it. So for some people, it can be really uncomfortable, depending on how much self-awareness and healing they have already integrated into their life. For some people, it can feel like another part of dismantling. I feel like I don't want to get too far off on this tangent because it's a whole different thing, but typically around the age of like 44 to 46, you have what we call your Uranus opposition. And that's kind of the first situation that really destabilizes you in this age. And then, of course, women have menopause, or perimenopause that starts leading into menopause. And then everyone has their Chiron return happen. And then and then when you reach 60, you have your second Saturn return. And I really think that there is a divine system of why this happens, because it's the series of all of these things that especially women go through that really catapults them into their wise elder years. So if you thought that if you would have everything figured out by the time you were 40, it's like you have it figured out, and then everything is going to like your whole everything that you knew is going to be shaken up and stirred around and created into something completely different. So it's really a significant awakening that everyone goes through during this period of time. So if you feel like a complete mess, like I do half the time, most of the time lately, it's okay. You're supposed to be a mess right now. And it's all happening for your highest good to get you into this next stage of your life where you become the role model and you hold the wisdom and you have shed all of the things that are keeping you small and keeping you limited and keeping you from stepping into your full power and purpose and potential. So, um, that being said, where was I going with this? Okay, I forgot, but we're gonna get moving on the next one. So, Chiron and Taurus is actually, we are moving from Chiron and Aries to Chiron and Taurus tonight. And it's just kind of starting to dip its toe into this energy. As we've been approaching this energy, you have probably been feeling it. We've seen some things that have been kind of destabilizing in the economy, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. It is going to enter Chiron and Taurus and give us a bit of a taste of it until August 3rd. And then Chiron will go retrograde. And as it goes retrograde, which means it's kind of moving backwards in its orbit, or it appears to be moving backwards in its orbit. It isn't actually transverse backwards, but it will end up back in Aries on September 17th to 18th. And then it'll stay in Aries for its last hurrah in Aries ever in our lifetimes, probably, unless you live to be 100 and something, until April 14th of 2027. So April 14th of 2027, we re-enter Taurus again, and that is where we are going to stay. And so 2027 is going to be a big year where we see a lot of major shifts. And astrologers have been looking at 2027 for a long time, and I'll probably do another series on that as we get closer. But 2027 has been on the radar for quite a while. So, not to be ominous, it's not ominous, it's just that it is one of those years that stands out as being where significant shift happens. So, and then we will stay until the year 2033, which feels so far off right now. We will be in, the Taurus will be in Chiron. So, I talked a little bit about the key themes, but I just want to make sure that I have them all covered, which is why I write notes. But Taurus governs resources, money, possessions, the body, self-worth, core values, and what we consider to be ours, what is safe and stable. It has a lot of security energy. And we have not seen Chiron and Taurus since 1984. So, and I just want to kind of, because it's one of those energies where we can look back and see patterns throughout history, I just want to talk a little bit about previous transits that we've had with this, and not go too far back, but where is it? Of course I don't have it. Chiron was in Taurus in the late or big 1977. And I don't remember, but I do remember hearing about this. And there were fluctuations in real estate. Interest rates were really high. Housing market was not doing great. And there was a lot of issues with oil and gas. I remember hearing about people having to take turns on days that they were allowed to get gas. If you notice, these are kind of themes that are starting to repeat now. Food prices going up, instability in markets. We also had this energy of Chiron return. If we look 50 years previous to that, was the Great Depression and those issues. And I know if we go back even further, there was another instance for whatever reason. I don't have my notes on that. But we see themes of a global energy awareness around our resources, particularly related to food, to gas, to real estate, the things that we really have grown used to having in order to survive and make ourselves comfortable. And I don't say this to be like, prepare yourselves and brace for for all of this. But you will hear more and more that there are narratives around and around lack of resources, prices becoming higher. There may be real estate fluctuations, value, and it is going to shake things up for a little bit. And all right, so make sure that's something that happens within the economy, but this is also an energy that occurs within ourselves. And so this can show up in uh, the value that you place on your services. It can show up in the type of work that you do, and whether you feel valued at work, whether you're being paid enough. It has a lot of that too. And so when I think about this, even though we're looking at it in like a concrete physical way of how it shows up in the world, it's also tied to themes, all of those. How am I going to say this? I feel like I'm messing this up. Um, our personal value and our personal worthiness and what we believe we are allowed to have is so interconnected with what we receive. And that is partly why I wanted to kind of put together this workshop, because even though there is a global story going on, and even though there is a collective energy that everyone is kind of feeling the pressure of, your personal story does not have to be tied or linked or even relate to what is happening on the global story. And I say that because, and if you've done any kind of the sort of like energy manifestation type workshops with me, um, your subconscious beliefs and stories and programs and uh, ancestral stuff that comes in and is kind of running the show in the background and creating whatever narrative it is of what you feel you're allowed to have and what you're allowed to hold and what you're allowed to receive and whether you deserve it. All of that affects how the world shapes itself around you. And so if we can go in and start changing those narratives and changing the stories that maybe we've been telling ourselves that we don't even sometimes realize we tell ourselves. Um, for example, and I've had to, not that I've had to do a lot of work on this, but there are people who do, and I hear this especially with a lot of younger people. Um, my grandparents were so big on getting a college education, and I was the first grandchild. And um, I graduated high school when I was barely 17. And I was like, I don't want to go to college right away. And they were just like, you have to go to college. That's the only way you're ever going to be successful. And that was the story that had always been passed down to me, was like, if you don't go to college, you're never going to be successful. If you don't go to college, you're never going to amount to anything. If you go to college, you're always going to work at the gas station. And that was what they believed, but that had also been a story that was passed down to all of their grandchildren. And I think I might be the only one who didn't get a college degree. That's weird. But even after I kind of navigated my own way and rewrote those stories for myself and owned my own business, and was probably making more money than all of most of my family members and cousins who had gone to college. Um, my grandma, I went to go see her, and she still, as I was sitting across from her having lunch, she said, looked me dead in the eye and said, you won't get anywhere these days if you don't have a college degree. And I was just like, that is something that has been so tightly held as a belief within the family. And, uh, I had to make peace that that was not going to be my story and that I could be successful whether I did it their way or not. And so it's really good to take a look at whatever stories start coming up within your life, especially as we move through this transit, because I guarantee you new stories are going to start arriving to be looked at. Things that maybe you've just always never had really considered before. and they may rise to the surface, and it's an opportunity for us to be like, you know what, that doesn't have to be my story. And so even if we look back at all of the history when there's all of this economic upheaval and like scarcity wounds coming to the surface and people kind of freaking out about what's happening with money and you know, stock markets or whatever it is, whatever the news is telling you about how disastrous they feel things are going to be. It's an opportunity for you to be like, but does that really apply to me? Do I have to buy into that narrative? You will notice that there are always people during those periods of time who come through unscathed, who actually prosper. And it's not necessarily because they're doing shady business, it's just because they have not attached themselves to that outcome and they've chosen different paths. And that is why a big part of why I really believe in the work that we're going to be doing this next week. And for those of you, since this is for those of you who have already joined, and also for those of you who just wanted information on Chiron, and I hope that this is valuable information for you. It's I don't want you to feel like this is like pressure to join the program, but if it is something that you're interested in doing and going through the clearings, it is still open and you're more than welcome to join at any time. They will be recorded. And if you decide 2 years from now that you're ready to do the clearing work, if you notice things coming up, it is going to be here and ready for you. And that's part of why why now. So okay. So I get myself back on track because I can get off track really easily here. Um, so I just want to touch a little bit about what Prosperity Unbound is and how we are going to do it. I'm going to keep this really brief because that's not really what tonight is about. Um, but if you're curious, this is what it is. I came across a technique. I've been doing energy work for 25 years. I'm a Reiki master. I've taken internships, year-long internships with um, an energy medicine doctor. I've done theta healing. I have done so many things, and I worked as a massage therapist for 20 years. Um, I could recognize energy in the body. I could even shift energy temporarily, but what I noticed was that it kept coming back. Um, and I couldn't figure out why. And I also noticed for myself, like I would do work on myself, I would think something was clear and then it would come back later on. And then I came across a technique called spiritual response therapy or spiritual response technique, SRT for short. And it's not one that is very well known. And so I just want to take a quick moment to talk about it and why I love doing this work. SRT, it was created by a man who was actually a pastor, and he was doing work and um, he connected to his spirit team and higher self and received this download of this information, which I receive downloads all the time, so I have to put some stock in that. Anyway, how it works, it is we connect with your high self and your spirit team, and it uses a pendulum, and I have charts that the pendulum goes to. It tells me which chart to go through, and I have like 42 different charts of different things. But what it does on an energetic level and on a brain science level, because your subconscious and your soul level energy and history understands language. Language is so huge in how we process things. Um, is that uh, it goes to like your spirit, your high self and spirit team directs the pendulum to go to where energy was initially created within your experience as a human on Earth. So what does that mean? You are a eternal being who has had many lifetime experiences here on Earth. With each lifetime, you have certain experiences that create an emotional resonance that kind of installs itself into your soul's history. And it's meant to be a safety mechanism. It can also be, it's meant to, okay, so it's meant to be a safety mechanism such as, say, you were attacked by wolves in a past life. And that was devastating, and maybe you even lost your life during that. You have no conscious memory of that, but when you reinstall into your physicality as a human in this plane, those memories on a soul and cellular memory level are reinstalled. And your body remembers, your subconscious has an awareness of it, even if your consciousness doesn't. And you will possibly create stories or narratives around, say, being terrified of dogs because you were attacked by wolves and that was not safe. And so now you have this phobia or fear of being around dogs. This can also show up as energy that is attached to relationships and certain people who you've had in your soul's history. But the memory of it doesn't necessarily linger, and you don't have an awareness of that, but on a subconscious level, the emotional piece of it still lingers and still affects and still creates a safety net and system for you to exist in, which creates boundaries and limitations as to what you believe is safe or okay for you to have or to do or who you're allowed to be. Previously, I did a whole series on this, on the witch wound, because so many of us who are here to help raise the vibration of Earth during this time and step into our full power and capacity were once here in our full capacity and then found that it was not safe for us to do so. And we hold the woundings of what it is to be powerful and spiritual and intuitive and creative women, because there were many times in history where we were persecuted for standing in our full feminine power. I don't want to talk about this too much, but those of you who have worked with me before have probably heard the story of how I realized that this work was so powerful and significant. And it was that I had a responsibility program where I made myself responsible for everyone around me. I'm the oldest of five. My mom was a single mom. You could see how that already, the belief of being responsible already had kind of created a reality where I was stepping into a position of having to take on so much responsibility from a young age, but it had expanded out into, I had unknowingly and unconsciously created a sense of responsibility that I had to take care of everything and everyone, and that no one was able to do the same for me. If I didn't do it, everything else was going to fall apart. And it came up in an SRT clearing that I was doing as a participant, that this existed and I didn't have to do that anymore. And it happened that it affected me. And when I realized that, I heard in my head, you have to be big and strong and to carry the weight of all the responsibility. And I had put on a significant amount of weight over the years, especially because I had been taking on so much from everything, and I was probably stressed out. But your bodies and your physical self responds sometimes so literally to the beliefs and the words that you use to describe things. Um, just another example of that is that I have an old friend, someone I used to work with years ago, and she's going through um, kind of a situation where she's having PTSD induced anorexia. And when I was talking with her, one of the things that she said, she's like, it's not that I don't want to eat, but she said, I just need to, I've always felt I had to make myself small in order to stay safe. And it's like the words literally, when she's in a situation where she feels unsafe, her body physically makes it so that she begins to make herself smaller and smaller and smaller. In my case, it was that I needed to be bigger and bigger and bigger. And so going through and clearing this out with my high self from the point and of where it was initially created in my soul's history, within 2 months, I dropped 40 pounds without trying. And my body finally regulated after years of trying everything to get back to what I consider to be my normal physical self. Um, and that's how I knew at that point that this work was really significant, because we're not only working with our high selves, but we're working with part brain science, part neurolinguistic programming, part just soul level awareness, part releasing trapped emotions that are kind of running the show behind the scenes. And I've seen such significant shifts with it. And it's one of those things that until you try it and have the experience for yourself, you don't really fully understand how it works or what it does. So I'm really excited to get to introduce it to more people, because I think it is a modality that should be utilized more often. Okay, I probably talked about that longer than I intended to, and I don't know how we're doing on time, but I want to get to the juicy parts of it doing. Okay, so during during Prosperity Unbound and the 7 clearings, what I did is I wanted to touch on the 7 most common prosperity wounds that people hold, because this isn't just, like I said, it's not just related to your money. It's about how you allow yourself to show up in what you believe you're deserving and worthy of, and that changes everything. That does not just affect your money situation. It doesn't just affect your stability in an unstable economy. It affects the type of relationships you enter. It affects the type of work that you tell yourself you can do. It affects your friendships. It affects whether or not you feel like you are capable of showing up in your full authenticity. So when we start changing those things, then that's when everything around you begins to shift. So even though it's directed towards prosperity, it's so encompassing and overlapping of so much more. So these were the 7 that came up. One is scarcity and survival programming, and a lot of that comes from ancestral lineage type stuff, epigenetics. If you're not familiar with epigenetics, it's that your family's history, actually, the memory of that is encoded within your DNA and your cells. And so that is part of your makeup. Worthiness and deserving is the second one. Feeling like you have to earn your place and earn what you're allowed to have. This shows up a lot of times as I have to work hard in order to be successful. I have to work hard to have money. I have to trade my time for this, the typical story. You have to work your 40 hours a week, sometimes overtime, show your worth as a good employee. Third one is receiving and allowing support. A lot of us have a receiving wound that can come from different things. A lot of times, receiving was transactional and came with a price. Poverty consciousness, feeling like there's never enough for everybody. Spirituality, service, and prosperity. And that is a belief that a lot of times came from poverty vows. If you were a spiritual person, like having to give up all of your money to the church to prove that you were worthy of God's presence. And also that shows up, especially in people who do spiritual work now, that if they are doing this type of work, that they should not receive financial benefit because they're supposed to be of service. Visibility, fear of being seen. And I know for myself, that's a big one that I've had to work through over the last several years. It's very much a closeted spiritual person, having grown up in a religious family where it was not acceptable to be myself and express who I was within my full capacity, because it was seen as being well, when you grow up in very religious families, anything outside of what is considered in the normal structure is against what they believe in. So, and the last one we'll be doing is prosperity embodiment and your capacity for holding wealth. And really your capacity for holding anything, because until something feels safe and allowed, you're going to create limitations of what it is that you're able to hold. And that can show up a lot of times as, you hear about those, a lot of people who win the lottery and within 3 years they have no money left. And it's because you will create situations, if it feels uncomfortable for you to have a large sum of money or any money at all, you'll create situations where it leaves. So, look at our capacity for holding and sustaining. So if any of that interests you and you would like to join, get in touch with me, or I will post the link later, and you can join at any time, but there's no pressure. It's just there and available to you if you want it. I am doing this for all of you, but also a big part, not a big part, but a part of why I decided to do this was because I was seeing so many of these wounds and old stories come up for myself, especially being in a position of changing from a career that I could do with my eyes closed and I was really good at and I loved. But starting over in something new, I noticed, and stepping out and taking a leap of faith, I noticed all of these old things start popping up again. Who am I to do this work? Why, who am I to think that I can be successful at this at my age? Like, there were so many things. How can I put myself out publicly and have a visible presence talking about all this weird woo-woo stuff that I talk about and not be ostracized? So I noticed this, and I recognized that if I was noticing this, that this was something that so many other people are probably experiencing along at the same time. And so I really feel that there's so much value in doing things together, but also, part of the wounded healer situation is it's always easier to help other people than yourself. So I did this as also something to kind of take the journey with you and experience it also. So thank you for joining me in this journey of moving through all of these points that keep popping up. All right. Now we're getting into the juicy stuff. Thank you for hanging in there. I've been talking a lot. So for tonight, part of what I think is so valuable anytime, but especially when we're going through periods of time where we're transitioning into different versions of ourselves and navigating new territory and energetic shifts, is to really develop a relationship with our high self and our spirit team, because your high self is the version of you who knows how it all works out. It's the version of you who has the awareness of seeing the path ahead, who knows you inside and out, who can see fully what you're capable of, and ultimately has the ability to be your biggest cheerleader. So I always check in with my high self, and I think when I realized I could do this, it was like realizing that even if nobody else had my back, like I could have my own back in situations, and I could always tap in and see, okay, am I aligning with the best version of myself right now? And if I'm not, what would the best version of myself be doing or telling me that I should do? And that has helped me navigate some really kind of unknown territory and allow me to show up in the best capacity possible. I will tell you that your high self will never lead you astray, and it is rooting for you the whole way. It's the version of you who knows how it all works out for your best. And your spirit team. Your spirit team has seen it all. They've traveled with you. Um, they, I always think of them especially when I do readings and I look at meet other people's spirit teams. They always show up. It's like going to a high school graduation or something, and everyone's in the bleachers, like your whole extended family and like all your friends, and they're just like cheering and rooting for you because you finally are doing, you know, graduating. That's how I always see spirit teams. It's like they have such a higher level awareness of the work that you came here to do. And for a lot of people, that work is to, work on themselves. We always think of our purpose as something that's going to be grand and significant and important, and that we need to find it. Everyone wants to find their purpose and what they came here to do. And whenever I check in with people's spirit teams or high self about what their purpose is when I do readings, so many times it comes back. It's like your whole purpose is just to embrace the experience and to come here and learn what it is you came to learn. And so we're going to do a guided meditation so that you can connect with your high self and receive any insight and wisdom that your high self would like to share with you tonight. And also with your spirit team, so you can get a sense of all the people who are there cheering you on and really supporting you behind the scenes. And when given the opportunity to kind of step in and help facilitate with the work that we're doing, such as in like an SRT clearing, or even if you just ask them to step in, typically your spirit team is not going to step in and interject on its own. But when asked, they are more than happy to help assist and offer their wisdom and guidance if we know how to accept it and listen and follow. So we're going to go ahead and meet that. So take a second to get comfortable. And you can lay down, close your eyes, you can turn off your camera if you want. It's totally up to you. And we're going to go on a little journey. All right. Go ahead and find a comfortable position wherever you are. And take a moment to adjust until your body feels at ease. Allow your eyes to close. And take a slow breath in through your nose. And let it out through your mouth with a sigh. And again, breathe in through your nose and release. And one more time, a deep breath in, filling your lungs completely, and a long, slow exhale, letting go of whatever you carried into this moment. And allow your breathing to return to its natural rhythm now. And with each breath, feel yourself becoming more present, more here, more at home in your own body. And notice the weight of your body, the places where you are supported by the earth beneath you. You are being held right now, and you have always been held, even when it did not feel that way. And bring your awareness down into the soles of your feet, and imagine roots beginning to grow from the base of your spine, from the bottoms of your feet, and moving down through the floor, through the layers of earth, and down into the deep, warm core of the planet. And feel the roots anchor you there, steady, rooted into something ancient and unshakable. And as you breathe, feel the earth breathing with you. This same earth that has sustained billions of lives across thousands of years. The same earth that grows forests from a single seed. Same earth that takes what has died into its soil, and that soil turns back into life without effort. And you are part of this, and you have always been a part of this. And now Bring your awareness to the center of your chest, to your heart space. And if you feel called to, you can place a hand on your heart as well. And begin to imagine a soft, warm light glowing at the center of your heart. It might appear as gold or white or a deep luminous blue. Whatever color or quality of light arises for you is exactly right. This light is yours. It is the part of you that exists beyond any program, any wound, any story that you have carried about who you are or what you deserve. And allow that light to expand with each breath, gently filling your chest, your shoulders, your belly, and moving down through your legs and expanding up through your throat, your face, the crown of your head, until your entire body is held within this warm and radiant light. Now, in your mind's eye, imagine yourself standing at the entrance to a place that feels sacred to you. It might be a temple or an ancient forest or a sun-drenched meadow or a cave lit by candlelight, or somewhere that exists only in the landscape of your soul, but feels so familiar to you. And take a moment to let this place form around you. Notice what you see, how you feel, what the air smells like, whether there are any sounds or if it's completely silent. This is your inner sanctuary. Here, nothing can harm you. You are completely safe. And now you look off in the distance and you notice a presence approaching, a being of absolute light and love moving toward you with a warmth that is unmistakable. And as they draw closer, you begin to feel something extraordinary. A recognition, a sense of coming home. Because this being is you. This is your higher self, the eternal, unencumbered version of you that exists beyond time, beyond wounds, beyond every limiting belief you have ever carried. It is the you that has watched over this entire journey with nothing but love and patience and understanding. And allow them to come to you now. Feel the presence of your high self. Notice how it feels to have them near you. There may be a quality of peace, of knowing, of being truly seen without judgment. And if it feels right, take their hands into yours. Or simply just feel their energy surrounding you. And know this, your higher self has never once seen you as broken, unworthy, or lacking. They have only ever seen your wholeness, your gifts, your capacity, your radiant potential. And take a moment to simply just be with them, to receive whatever they want you to feel right now, or to give you any message that they feel you need to hear right now. And now, as you stand with your higher self in this sacred place, begin to notice that it is not just the two of you. There are others here. They are gathered around you in a circle of light. These are your guides, your spirit team, the beings of love and wisdom who have walked alongside you across lifetimes, who know your soul contract, who understand every layer of this journey that you are on. They may appear as light, as silhouettes, as faces, as felt presences. Let them show up however they choose, and however it feels right for you. And feel the circle there forming around you. This whole spirit team exists for one reason: to love you, to guide you, to support you exactly as you are. There's no agenda here. There's no condition you must meet. No version of yourself you must become first. There is only love, only support, and only the quiet, unshakable intention of beings who exist entirely to serve your highest good. And you are safe here. Take a moment now to simply be present with your higher self and your spirit team. And when you feel ready, you can ask them, what do I most need to know as I begin this work? And receive what they say. It may come as a word, an image, a feeling, a color, a knowing that just arrives without form. And trust what comes, even if it feels subtle, even if it feels like you are making it up, because you're not making it up. Whatever came through for you, hold it closely. It is yours. When it feels complete, you can thank your higher self and your spirit guides. And see them start to return from where they came, knowing that they are always with you. And begin to feel the ground beneath you again. weight of your body, the rise and fall of your breath. And know that as you return to this time and place, you do not leave your higher self behind. They are with you always. Your spirit team is with you always. And whatever comes next for you, you are never walking through it alone. You are held. You are guided. You are loved beyond measure. And begin to bring gentle movement back into your body now. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Take a deep breath in. And as you release, let your eyes slowly open. And welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. Give you a little bit to kind of come back into yourselves. We're coming up on the 90-minute mark, so I would encourage you to take a moment to journal anything that came through for you during the meditation, so you always have that kind of something you can circle back to. You will be receiving the recording of this, so if you ever want to do the meditation again, it is there and available, and always a good resource. And I always get a little spacey even when I'm the one facilitating the meditation. All right. If you feel like you would like to, you can leave a message of one word in the chat of anything that came through for you. You don't want to, that's okay, but I'm always curious. So I've had some of my most profound experiences doing guided meditations, and they linger with me for a long time. And so I'm always think that it's really great work when we're able to kind of like tap into those higher levels of awareness and access our theta brainwave. Free fall, trustful, yes. I get that a lot. It's like you just have to take the jump and trust that it's all going to work out somehow. Patience. Yes, something about the heart. I feel like, just a side note, and I know I've talked about this sometimes in the lives, but we're going through a really rapid transformation right now in the frequency of what the earth is doing. And people are also changing rapidly and increasing their frequency. And I feel like a big part of that is related to the heart center. The heart is a motor, and it's also a regulator and an energy source. So I feel like a lot of heart expansion work is happening. And that is big work. And also I've been really tapping into the things that happen when you are upgrading your frequency, and so much of it feels like a trust fall, but also a stripping away, and also like everything that you knew before stops working to some capacity, whether that's with relationships, with the work that you do, with your usual way of finding security and comfort. It's like everything is kind of stripped because none of that is able to go with you into what you're doing next. So it is kind of like a grief process and a, you know, what the heck is happening here? But it's like if you can push past that and move forward and do the whole trust situation that it's all going to work out, life tends to rearrange yourself um, to what is best for you. So I always have to remind myself that everything is always happening for my highest good. And I had an interesting conversation last week. It was, and because I'm not going to lie to you guys. Some of you know me personally, and some of you aren't aware, but I like this process of changing into this new version of what my life looks like started in 2022, and it has been 4 years of instability and not knowing what the heck is happening. And I remember, well, just last week I was talking to somebody about this, and I said, I don't know what it is that I'm supposed to be figuring out, but I know on a deep soul level, that soul level version of me, my higher self, um, wrote this into my story for a reason. So I'm excited to see and one day be able to tell the tale of how it all worked out. And right now it's just a matter of trusting. And I know that so many of you are also in that space of not knowing what is coming next. But I can guarantee you that there's a reason that you wrote that into your story too. So um, anyway, I always love getting together and being able to share and have all of you join me in these guided meditations and lives and things. So thank you so much for being here tonight. If you would like to continue this work, I will include the link. If it's not right for you right now, that is okay. I'm just glad that you are here. And if at a later date it does feel right, it is and will always be available. So just message me. And I hope you'll have a good night and reach out anytime. Um, my inbox is always open. So, thank you. Health. Oh, I missed you, Joe. Health and vibrancy. You don't need to earn your place. Exactly. And your presence is definitely a gift. I very much appreciate you. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night.